Number 2019-0099, an ordinance approving the authorization, the execution of an act of dedication and approval of the final plat for Oak Alley Subdivision. Mr. Albert first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the final action on the subdivision for the act of dedication and final plat for Oak Alley. The plat meets all of the specifications of the subdivision ordinance. All required fees have been paid. The required letters have been issued from the various departments regarding approvals, and the dedication is for the underground infrastructure, streetlights, servitude of access, and utilities, our drainage servitude. If there's specific questions about those dedications, Mr. Fauché will be able to assist with that. Thank you.
Mr. Fauché?
Madam Chair, I think Mr. Albert explained everything pretty well. I think I'm not address sticking points that may come up unless you bring them up.
Okay. Public hearing for 2019-0099 is open. Please come up and speak now if you'd like to.
Yes, my name is Joey Murray with Murray Architects, and I'm here representing MHI Investments, LLC, for the act of dedication for this project. Everything has been turned in. All of the work has been done properly and has been inspected, and this project is ready to be acted on by the council, and I appreciate your support. I also want to say that as an individual, I live next door to this project. We welcome the Smiths to the neighborhood, and they're going to be great neighbors. Mr. Garrett Smith is not able to be here with us today. He is in session in Baton Rouge and was unable to attend. But I am here to answer any questions that you may have for him or for the project. Thank you.
Public hearing for 2019-0099 is still open. If anyone would like to speak on behalf of this item, please come up and do so now. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Council discussion. Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in my district, and I do ask you all for your support. I'd very much appreciate it, and it's going to be a very welcome project. And the Smiths are, if you all don't already know, very good people. Thank you.
Council discussion. Mr. Hogan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Out of being nice, I ended the request to speak in the Granicus system, which is not in accordance with our council rule, which is something that this council needs to address one way or the other, because you cannot be selective enforcement.
Right, let's stick to the topic rather than the Granicus system and the council rules.
Well, our rules need to mean something. Otherwise, why have them?
I just recognized you.
With respect to this subdivision, I cannot support this. This is to dedicate only utilities within this development and not dedicate a road and a street right away. The council, in its wisdom, violated its own codes in granting a waiver to the dedication of a street right-of-way and the street located within it, and it was done under false advertisement of a resolution which stated a waiver from the geometric standard for blocks regarding lot arrangement, that in no way advised the public or anybody else that we were waiving the dedication of a street right-of-way, the road within the right-of-way in which all utilities are to be dedicated, with the sole intent for the developer to be able to put a gate across the street whereby he has a private gated community served by public utilities. The codes does not provide for that. As a result, I referred this matter to the district attorney for him to address this matter, and until he gets back with us, I would suggest that we not take any action on this, for it's probably in violation of several laws.
Mr. Woodruff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a shame we've got 9 of us up here in the same canoe, and 8 of us got enough sense to paddle downstream. So I'm in support of this. Thank you.
Any additional council discussion? Mr. Hogan, second time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One thing that, as I'm sure y'all have seen, and I'm sure as the people at home have seen, I follow the rules. I look at them, I read them, they're easy to understand, and it's easy to see when we're violating them and when we're following them. And in this case here, this was done in violation of our code, and I stand up for it. Y'all can attack me for that if y'all want. I have no problem with that. I represent the people who put me here in office to support the codes and to make sure that they're applied fairly and uniformly to everybody. Y'all don't want to do that? That's on y'all. Y'all have to face y'all constituents when election time comes. I know what I support. I support our codes and our laws. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Mr. Cochran?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael, in going through this, we're violating any laws that you're aware of?
None, no. None that I'm aware of.
Mr. Hogan, can you specifically tell us, counsel, what laws we're violating?
Yeah, to grant a waiver, you can only be granted a waiver if for two conditions. One is literal enforcement of the code is impractical, or the application of the code is odd for some peculiar situation. That is the only two reasons by which you can grant a waiver. Dedicating a public street and a right-of-way is not impractical. It's done with every subdivision that's ever developed. And there's no peculiar situation which says we should not be dedicated a street and a right-of-way. So without it meeting any of those two requirements, the granting of a waiver was not in compliance with our code.
So
plain and simple.
What law was broken?
Our code. Our code is law.
So
a law that we put in place as a council for you and your department to enforce. And matter of fact, your director never even addressed that point in his land use report. And I'd like to know why he didn't. And I think the only reason that he didn't.
Right now I have the floor, Mr. Hogan.
But you asked the question. But I think the only reason he didn't was so that he can be able to say.
I asked the question, Mr. Hogan. I have the floor.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, though. Michael, are we violating laws here?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Mr. Fosha, your interpretation of it.
The right to grant a waiver by this council is, as Mr. Hogan said, due to peculiarities. That the condition on which you granted a waiver is that none of these lots fronted on a parish street. That would be the peculiar situation in which you would look to grant a waiver. His opinion is, in fact, that breaks a law, but you have the right to grant a waiver. And in that situation and many others suit the criteria to grant a waiver.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to clear that up, Madam Chair, because laws were not violated. Y'all within y'all right as a council to act on this. So thank you for entertaining me.
I have one more question. Mr. Fauché.
Yes, ma'am.
The items that we are allowing dedication on are up to standards, correct?
Correct.
And the items that we have not accepted dedication on, if the developer were to propose dedication of those items at a later date, is there a process in place for that dedication, that acceptance, the standards that they have to meet?
Because the Smiths had intended originally to have the road as part of their dedication. All of the work went through an inspection process and a testing process that all our normal assets would go through. So it has met all specifications for the parish. So if they choose to do that now, the parish is in a position to accept that asset. However, if they do not do it now, and say 5 years from now they come to the parish and would want to donate the road, two things would have to happen. One is an inspection would have to take place to view and make an assessment of the condition of the road. A set of items would be put in place if in fact the condition of the road did not meet parish specifications, and they would have to fix or bring the road into condition where the parish would accept it and remove the gates. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Albert, you want to speak to that as well?
A little bit. Something Mr. Fauché said kind of brought my memory back on this. When this changed and the lot that was formerly going to be the dedicated road became a lot for the subdivision, that's when the question of the waiver came through. And in order to create that lot and all of the other lots at that point, the waiver was required. So in specific answer to Mr. Cochran's question, no, that process was done correctly. The waiver was granted lawfully, in my non-attorney opinion, through the process and precedent that the council had already established.
And the waiver was necessary for the property owner to even develop their
For all of those
property.
lots at that point.
So there were some unusual circumstances that they had to get a waiver in order to develop their land.
Yes.
Okay. Check. Mr. Hogan, I have one quick question for you. You mentioned you sent this particular ordinance to the district attorney for review? Or yes or no? So you sent the waiver to the district attorney for
The waiver to district attorney
When did you send that?
2 weeks ago.
Just 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
For the first time 2 weeks ago?
I think so. I'm guessing 2 weeks. I don't have it
Or
in
no?
front of me right now.
I mean, we granted that waiver some time ago. First time you sent it was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, well, you got to remember, I came to the council first to rescind the waiver.
Mm-hmm.
After that action, that's when I submitted it to the district attorney.
For the first time 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Yep.
You heard back from him?
No.
Okay.
Waiting.
All right. Any more council discussion?
Yes.
That is your, I think it's your third time.
Mm-mm.
It's your third
No,
time.
Larry asked the question.
No, I'm not counting that one.
I don't think so. Ask him.
Yeah, this will be your third time, so
I don't think so, Madam Chair.
move on. We have record of it. This will be your third time. Go ahead, Mr. Hogan.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, my phone's on.
Yeah, I got it. Mike, on the preliminary plat, what you're telling us is that the street right-of-way that was shown on the preliminary plat that was approved prior to construction plan approval was a numbered lot?
Can you restate that?
What you're telling us is that the dedicated street right-of-way that was shown on the preliminary plat that was approved, which allowed the construction of the subdivision, was a numbered lot.
No.
Then how can you just tell us a second ago that this is a numbered lot that the developer just decided to keep, when the preliminary plat lays out what are the lots and what is to be dedicated to the parish in accordance with the subdivision regulations?
No, the preliminary plat does not do that. The preliminary plat establishes the general size and shape and street layout for a subdivision. The final plat that you're approving tonight is the one that designates the lot numbers and what their final configuration is.
Right, but that's only coming to us tonight.
Do you see?
The waiver, when the waiver was granted, there was no such numbered lot, as you stated a second ago, which granted and allowed such a waiver that we granted. You kind of flip things backwards there and to try to make it seem as though what we are doing and this waiver was okay. You can't have it both ways.
I'm not having it anyway. I'm answering the questions about the case.
Yeah, Mr.
Well-
Hogan, for the sake of time, and since we're on your third time speaking, let's try to be as concise as we can
Well, I
here.
am. I'm just
And I
stating
think
what
you
he
have
said.
it backwards.
Uncombative, please.
The preliminary plat showed a street, whereas when it was revised for the waiver request, that former street portion became, as what's shown on this plat, lot Oak Alley, giving it its lot designation.
I agree, but what you said is the lot number is what justified the waiver. It came together
No, I
at
don't
the same
think I said that.
time. Yes, you did.
All right, let's wrap this up, Mr. Hogan.
Well, once again, as I've stated, this is, what was approved was in violation of our code. Now.
Now you're getting repetitive. You spoke on
Well-
this earlier. Please wrap it up.
I am.
Please wrap it up.
What's going to, if this stands, what's going to happen when everybody here is gone and that road needs to be fixed? What public work employee at that time is going to know, oh, I can't go past this point and fix that street? Are we going to put signs up there, private, no public repairs on streets beyond this point? You know, this
Hypothetical questions, because if they are, let's please wrap this
is a
up.
legitimate hypothetical question.
I don't know if you're looking for answers from someone specific. Please wrap it up, Mr. Hogan.
Well, you know, I mean, as I said, there's a lot of concerns. That's why our codes are written for us to follow, which once again, we're not following our codes and rules. If we don't, why do we have them? Anyway, I can't support this. Thank you.
All right, please cast your votes. That passes with Mr. Hogan voting nay.